So welcome to today's Greater Life CoffeeCast. And with today being the pillar of happiness, I wanted to give you an experience of just how much power you have over your happiness because of your power to control one thing. And that is your frame of reference. So I came across a quote or a principle actually earlier today. And it really struck with me because it spoke to and it seemed to kind of crystallize so many of the different ways of saying the following. And the quote was this: the label becomes the experience. And so I give kudos to Keith Cunningham. I'm currently listening to and reading his book, The Road Less Stupid, which is a really wonderful way to think about business and its principles. But actually, a sound principle is sound across any area of life. And so for me, I've been listening to this book, which is all about how to really develop great quality thinking about how you build a business. Yet for me, I'm also hearing great quality thinking around how to cultivate, a loving and thriving relationship, how to cultivate a happy home, how to develop your own health to the point where you're absolutely thriving with vitality. The label becomes the experience. And you've probably seen this in your own life. And I remember one of my mentors shared the example of, let's say you're waiting at school in the queue for dinner. And that gives me away the fact that I was at boarding school, obviously, because we had dinner at the school. Let's say lunch, right? Make it a universal experience. So you're waiting in the queue for lunch. And suddenly, the year group bully and troublemaker rushes to the front of the queue and grabs the last donut. And let's call that person Steve, shall we, right? And I was like, oh, there's Steve doing what Steve does again, troublemaker, so annoying, okay? And then let's suppose that Simon, who is the class president and general Mr. Nice Guy, right? Let's say he rushes to the front of the queue and grabs the last donut. And everyone's reaction is more likely to be, oh, wow, Simon was really in a hurry. He must have really needed something quickly, right? Because of two very different labels, there is a different experience that unfolds from a given event, okay? And in your own life, I mentioned yesterday that I am, currently navigating the end of a relationship, and it's really painful. And yet I have a choice. I have a choice to label it as something awful, something that is terrible, right? Equally, I have a choice to label it as something that is transformative, that is painful because it is a celebration of beauty, that there is grief there because a thing that was beautiful is no more. And the label that I choose is going to impact the long-term experience I have in my life, where I'm either able to access and grow through the gifts of this brief relationship, or it just becomes a meaningless marker in my life. And the choice of what that outcome is starts with the label, the frame of reference that I choose to give the relationship that has been and the end of it. Okay? And so, as we come to happiness then, there are going to be things that happen. And you've probably come across this notion of, 4 levels of consciousness. And I'm not even sure I can remember all of them. But the first is the kind of almost like victim or, reactive mode of consciousness, which is that life happens to you. Okay? And then there's the next level where, and of course at that first level, it's going to be a challenge to be in control of your happiness if your frame of reference, if your label is always, oh, life is happening to me, like that you are the powerless victim of circumstance, right? Then the second level is that life happens for you. That actually we exist in a world that is fundamentally benevolent, and that therefore things that are occurring, even though they may seem painful and challenging at the time, are in fact happening for us for our greatest good. Then there is the third level, I think, which is that life happens through me, whereby that you start to see yourself as a vessel for life to flow through, and that your acts, your deeds, your thoughts, your words, your emotions, all of these are part of contributing to the great majesty and beauty and mystery that is life. And of course, how you might then be able to connect with and experience happiness is going to be very different already on the 3 levels we've mapped out. And then I believe the final level of consciousness is life happens as me. And so that we then experience ourselves as an aspect of, if you like, the divine or the creative force that is a part and flows through and is of all life, right? And so at that level, I don't know, maybe there's some yogis who've attained that like life happens as me level, right? But there is, in that level, I guess, the opportunity for a profound sense of bliss to be present nearly all the time, as you witness and observe if you like, divine drama and play, all the world as a stage, of course, unfolding before you, through you, as you, right? So, 4 different ways of labeling the experience of life. And those labels, those frames of reference, are going to have direct consequences on the levels of happiness that you experience. Okay? And so, if you take a moment now to consider some things that have been challenging in the last weeks or months, and how might things shift internally for you regarding those experiences if you were to change your label or frame of reference for them? And of course, the great question is like, what muscles are being developed that this challenge or these challenges meant that you had to start using? What capacities, what insights have you gained? All of these are questions to say, like, what are the gifts from these challenges? And therefore, from these gifts can flow gratitude, and from gratitude can come joy. Okay? So, today, how might you change your labels to elevate your happiness? All right. I'll see you next time.